Imagine this, the man who spent years painting Donald Trump as the arsonist of American democracy, the guy who turned California into a fortress against everything from border walls to fossil fuel subsidies, now picks up the phone, not to yell, not to protest, but to negotiate. Gavin Newsom, the golden boy of progressive politics. Fresh off another landslide in the governor's mansion, publicly vows to dial up President Trump himself. For what? Billions in federal wildfire aid that could make or break the Golden State. This isn't some late-night fever dream from a Hollywood scriptwriter. It's the raw, unfiltered grind of power in 2025 America, and it says everything about survival, strategy, and the brutal math of leading when the world is literally burning around you. Let me take you back a bit because context is king in these stories. California didn't just elect Newsom again. They re-elected him in a firestorm, pun very much intended. The 2024 wildfires weren't your garden variety brush fires. They were biblical, over 4 million acres scorched, 50 lives lost, entire towns like Paradise 2.0 wiped off the map. Insurance companies fled the state faster than rats from a sinking ship, jacking up premiums by 40% overnight. Homeowners in the Sierra Nevada foothills are staring at evacuation notices while their property values tank, and the kicker. This isn't climate change in the abstract anymore, it is the $100 billion tab staring down Sacramento's throat, a bill that state coffers alone can't touch. Newsom's campaign. It was all fire and fury. We'll build back greener, tougher, without a dime from denialists in D.C. He railed against Trump's old EPA rollbacks, the ones that gutted wetland protections and fast-tracked drilling permits. To his base, those eco-warriors in Marin County and tech titans in Silicon Valley. Trump was the villain who lit the match with his hoax tweets. Fast forward to November, inauguration dust barely settled, and Newsom drops this: "I'll call the president-elect directly. California's too big to fail, and neither is our partnership with Washington." Partnership. The word landed like a gut punch in progressive chat rooms. Remember 2020? Newsom was the guy who sued the feds over COVID mismanagement, who called Trump's handling of disasters a disgrace to decency. Now, with Trump back in the Oval, holding the purse strings on FEMA funds and infrastructure bills, Newsom's flipping the script. Why? Because wildfires don't vote party lines. They devour Democrat and Republican acres alike, from Hollywood Hills to Central Valley farms that feed half the nation. And here's the cold, hard fact. California sends more tax dollars to D.C. than it gets back. $83 billion net outflow last year alone. Flip that script with a hostile White House, and you're not just talking delayed checks. You're talking blackouts, mass migrations, and a humanitarian crisis that makes Katrina look like a backyard barbecue gone wrong. But let's peel back the layers, because this isn't just about dollars and embers. It is a masterclass in the high-wire act of modern leadership, the kind where one wrong step sends you plummeting into irrelevance. Newsom's playing for chess here. On one hand, he's got his base frothing. Environmental groups like the Sierra Club are already tweeting fire emojis with captions like "sellout alert." They see this as the first crack in the green wall, a whisper that maybe compromising with the guy who pulled out of Paris means diluting the fight against big oil. On the other, you've got the pragmatic crowd, farmers in Fresno, firefighters in L.A. who just want the damp lanes in the air and the grants flowing. Newsom knows the score. A 2024 UC Berkeley poll showed 62% of Californians prioritize practical disaster relief over ideological purity, even if it means shaking hands with the devil. By making the call public, he's framing it as strength, not surrender. "This is for the people," he said in that presser voice. Steady as the San Andreas, not politics, results. Now zoom in on Trump's angle, because no one's a pawn in this game, they're all kings with loaded decks. Trump's not twiddling thumbs in Mar-a-Lago, waiting for olive branches. He's got his own wildfire playbook. Remember his 2019 tweet storm blaming gross mismanagement by California libs for the blazes. He threatened to withhold funds unless they cleared more Deadwood. Classic Trump, turning crisis into leverage. Fast forward to now, and with Republicans holding the Senate and a slim House edge, he's got the wind at his back. But here's the twist. Trump's no climate denier in private anymore. Advisors whisper he's eyeing resilient infrastructure as a legacy play. Think massive federal investments in fire breaks and drought tech, branded as America's first disaster defense. Why? Because wildfires don't stop at state lines. They're torching federal lands too, costing the Treasury $5 billion annually in suppression alone. Plus, there's electoral math. Swing states like Arizona and Colorado are wildfire hotspots now, and alienating blue state voters there could cost him in midterms. So when Newsom calls, Trump's got the upper hand, but it's not a total rout. If he plays nice releases that $10 billion emergency package early, maybe ties it to a national fires our position, he looks like the unifier, the dealmaker who tamed the chaos. Snub it. He risks painting himself as the grudge holder, the guy who'd let California burn to spite Newsom. Early signals are intriguing. Trump's transition team floated a bipartisan resilience fund last week, echoing Newsom's pre-election pitch for federal matching grants on solar-powered irrigation. Coincidence? Or quiet backchanneling? Insiders say at ease the latter lobbyists from PG&E and the California Farm Bureau have been shuttling between Sacramento and D.C. greasing wheels with data on how Trump's tax cuts could juice private wildfire investments if paired with state incentives. This collision isn't happening in a bubble, though. It's crashing against the jagged rocks of America's deepening divides, where trust in leaders is thinner than wildfire smoke. Think about the emotional toll. Families in Chico, still sifting through ashes from the last big one, tuning into Fox or MSNBC and hearing the same story spun two ways. One side hails Newsom as a statesman saving lives. The other mocks him as a flip-flopper begging for scraps, and the media. Oh, they're feasting. CNN ran a segment calling it the pragmatist's pivot, complete with split-screen graphics of Newsom's fiery rally clips versus his measured phone pledge. Fox fired back with liberal hypocrisy hour, dredging up Newsom's French laundry dinner scandal to question his people first cred. It eased the same echo chamber trap. We all stumble into algorithms feeding us outrage candy until nuance tastes like ash, but dig deeper and you'll find the human heartbeat here. I talked to a CAL FIRE captain last month, off the record, who's lost 3 crews to burnout. We don't care if it's Biden or Trump signing the check, he told me, voice cracking over a crackling radio in the background. We just need the overtime pay and the new helicopters before next summer's inferno. That's the hook, the raw, unscripted plea from the front lines. Newsom gets it. His own family has roots in the Central Valley, where almond orchards are dying of thirst and family farms are folding under $1,000 an acre replanting costs. This call isn't theater. It's triage, and it echoes a bigger truth. In a federation as sprawling as ours, states aren't islands. California's economy is the world's 5th largest, but it leans on federal highways, USDA loans, and NOAA satellites for every forecast. Sever that. You're not just scorching land. You're starving innovation. Silicon Valley's AI-driven fire prediction models need federal data streams to work. Let's build to the heart of it, the climax that's got everyone holding their breath. Picture the call itself. It's January 15th, Oval Office line buzzing. Newsom opens with facts, not flattery slides over a briefing packet on the 2025 fire season projections, 20% worse due to La Nina patterns. Trump's listening. Maybe grunting approvals, countering with his clear the forests mantra backed by a fresh Forest Service report showing 30% more fuel loads on federal lands than state ones. Tension spikes when they hit the big ask. Newsom pushes for $15 billion in low-interest bonds for coastal resiliency projects, tying it to job creation 5,000 green gigs in red-leaning counties like Kern. Trump balks at first, floats a quid pro quo, ease up on offshore wind permitting delays that his oil buddies hate. The room advisors on both ends goes silent. Does Newsom fold? Nah, he pivots to shared wins, a National Fire Futures Summit in Sacramento, co-hosted, with Trump as keynote. It's not kumbaya. It's calculated overlap. Both men love the optics of crowds cheering American grit. And boom, that's the pivot point. If it lands, we see ripples. Emergency funds flow by March, averting a spring budget crunch. Newsom's approval ticks up 5 points in inland polls, buying him runway for bolder climate bills. Trump claims credit in a Rose Garden photo op, burnishing his results guy armor against 2028 whispers. But if it's ours, say, a leaked tape of Trump calling Newsom Hollywood hypocrite, the backlash is ferocious. Progressives bolt to third-party Greens. Republicans in D.C. block the aid to teach a lesson. Real pain follows. Delayed reimbursements mean schools in wildfire zones stay shuttered, hospitals ration burn beds. It's the high-stakes gamble that defines eras. Wrapping this up, because we've journeyed far from that simple phone pledge into the furnace of what it all means. This isn't just Newsom vs. Trump. It eased the mirror held up to all of us in a country where wildfires are the new normal, where 70% of Americans now say climate action trumps partisanship per a Pew survey last fall. Leadership? It's not the viral tweet or the rally chant. It's the quiet calculus of who you call when the stakes are existential. Newsom betting his legacy on it, proving you can fight like hell for your vision while keeping the lights on. Trump's testing if his dealmaker myth holds beyond the boardroom. And us? We're the jury, scrolling through the spin, deciding if compromise is cowardice or the only courage left. In a world screaming for black and white heroes, this gray area grit feels revolutionary. It reminds me of those old westerns where the sheriff and the outlaw team up against the real blaze, the one threatening the whole town. Messy? Hell yes. Essential. Absolutely. Because when the smoke clears, history doesn't grade on purity tests. It tallies the acres saved, the homes rebuilt, the lives not lost to pride. If this deep dive lit a spark for you, hit that like button, subscribe for more unfiltered takes on the games powering our world, and comment below, is Newsom's Trump call a genius move or the start of his downfall? Your voice fuels the fire. Drop it, and I'll weave it into the next one. Thanks for riding this out with me. Stay sharp, stay hopeful. We'll talk soon.